The very first book I've illustrated sold over $45,000. We sold over 2,500 copies, and today I'm going to talk about how that happened. My name's Roel Tenorio. I'm a registered nurse, a psych nurse, also a case manager, and I am also a picture book illustrator. So the very first book that I illustrated is called The Eloteman Goes to College. It is an award-winning book written by Maya Gonzalez and co-illustrated by myself and Shalome Gonzalez Tenorio, my wife. This book was strictly self-published, and we sold mainly through our own community here in Central California, Fresno County, Tulare County, Kings County, Madera County, all the counties. No Amazon, no retail, just strictly us putting in the work and sharing our books to you ourselves. Not that we initially wanted to self-publish this book. We tried to pitch it to publishers. However, the book was already finished. It was written. It was already illustrated and formatted. But publishers have their own illustrators that they work with. So, kind of having a book written along with the illustrations done already, it's not what most publishers want. They want to work with the illustrators that they have. Basically, we got rejected a few times. But it worked out because we sold more copies than I never could have imagined. So as I said, we sold mostly to our community here, our local schools, and we got in contact with a lot of these schools and classrooms just from our relationships with educators here in our community. Maya is a librarian herself. She works in education. My wife used to be a teacher. She is now a counselor. And they've been doing this for some time. They've kind of built these relationships with other educators throughout their career. And those teachers kind of spread the word and our stories to other people. And for the most part, that's where most of our sales came from. So this book was finished in 2021. This was during the pandemic. We were all quarantined. We all picked up our own hobbies for ourselves. It was to make a book. And we initially ordered 500 copies and sold out within 4 months. So after we sold out, after those 4 months, we ordered more. We ordered 700 more books. I can't recall how fast those sold out, but we made a third order, which is what order we're on currently since 2021. We ordered 1,500 books. So if you do the math, that's 2,700. We currently have 2 boxes left. So it's 60 books in a box. So 120 books. So, roughly over 2,500 books we've sold. And as our first book that we published, I think that's an insane amount of books to sell. I mean, that was in a span of 5 years, but still at 500 books, I was surprised that we sold out initially. I wouldn't say that it was a steady inflow of orders to buy books, but the orders that we did have, it was like 30 books here. A teacher would want 30 books for her classroom or for his classroom. Some 60 books here. Yes, most of our sales came in bulk orders of 30 to 60 books on average. We did sell a few to our local bookstores here in Central California, in Hanford and Fresno, as well as selling them online, where we would get 1 or 2 orders to sell and ship out to people's homes. As I said, I was surprised that we sold out at 500 books initially, and in 4 months. That's wild to me. To say if I was surprised about any of this, pretty much everything about this, I'm surprised about. I never expected to be a picture book illustrator, let alone to be part of a team that was able to have success in this book, in the story that we share. Probably the hardest part about this first book for myself, I was in nursing school actually when I illustrated it. I did the sketches and my wife did the line work and coloring pretty much. There were some pages I didn't finish. My wife took over and filled in for those pages. And for those of you who don't know, nursing school is pretty mentally demanding, also physically demanding, I suppose. I think Maya and Chalamet did most of the heavy lifting for this book, and we've been blessed that Chalamet and Maya have these relationships that they've built over the years in education and with fellow educators to help share Maya's story that she written about a street vendor working day in, day out just to provide for his family and for his daughter to go to school. And eventually he goes to school himself. Spoiler alert. As our first book, I think everything that we've done was a great learning experience. I would have never guessed how easy, well, not easy, but how simple it can be to just reach out to schools, just share your book and your story, and hopefully someone finds it interesting enough to buy and share with their classroom. We also gave a whole lot of books for free, just to some friends and family, and I think that was just as helpful as well with raising the demand of our book. If you're interested in the pricing of our book, we sold our book for $18 a piece. We obviously gave some discounts for bulk orders, but for those who bought it separately, we sold them for $18. During our book release, we had like bundle packs with stickers and other Eloteman swag, which sold for a few dollars more. Yeah, for myself, some people found out that I illustrated a book, like at work. I try not to sell stuff to my coworkers because I'm coming into work. I'm not coming in to sell books and make work off my other work. I don't know. That's not something I want to do. But I'm very happy that a lot of my team and my coworkers showed some interest in what I do. It makes me feel real good. It's very encouraging for me to continue to pursue this as a side hustle, but also, maybe a full-time career if I can make more out of illustration than nursing, then heck yeah, why not? So some things that I would do differently as an illustrator is kind of what I've done with this second book coming out in November. The book is called My Librarian is a Spy, and I kind of discussed it in a previous video. Compared to the second book coming soon, was just to sketch a whole lot of rough drafts for each page, come up with different options and just have fun. Not only am I supplementing a story with my illustrations, but I'm also trying to tell some side stories or secondary stories through my illustrations. I think that's a great skill to have in illustrating for children's books or picture books. I don't think it's mandatory, but growing up, the books that I really enjoyed were those little hidden tidbits in illustrations in books. I think also marketing strategy was another thing that I would do differently. I think we did great with the Eloteman Goes to College, and I think the story was just so well written and it sold itself. We didn't have to do much. From what I remember, back in 2021 here in Fresno and also in other parts in California, there were some street vendors that were getting killed and murdered. I know 2 murders happened in Fresno at the same time, probably a little bit before our book was done. I think our story, hit really close to home with our community, which raised interest in our book. Not that we intended for it to be that way. So, that just speaks to the story itself. It's a story that a lot of people here are familiar with. I think we all respect our street vendors that work hard to provide for their family and also our community. It comes with the culture here in California. To be honest, the sales of our book, it was a big surprise. However, it wasn't our goal to make, a certain amount of money from it. It was more of a passion project. We thought it was a beautiful story to tell. Having this book out and into your homes or your classrooms, your libraries was the most rewarding part about creating this book. So going from a heartwarming story to a fun imaginative story like our next book coming out, we're gonna have to market it a little bit different. Since it is a fun book, we can be a little bit more lighthearted and playful with marketing and promoting our book. But if you are a teacher or an educator that wants a book about how your librarian might be a spy, hey, hit me up, man. I'll get you some copies. So the amount of money that we made from this book, it's a large amount of money. I never would have expected to make that much money from selling a book ever. I don't know anything about this industry. Since it was a book that we published together as a family, it was kind of split 3 ways. Then you got to throw in taxes. So I don't know. I can't do the math right now, but it's probably like 10 grand each person. It's kind of just a fraction of what I make from my day job as a nurse. It's not quit nursing and become an illustrator type of money. However, it was very encouraging for me to continue doing this because it's a whole lot of fun to create books and illustrate books and maybe even write some books myself in the future. And getting paid for that is just a byproduct of pursuing something that you're passionate about. If you're interested in what I did with my share of the money, or what Maya or Xiaomei did with their share of the money, I can for sure talk about that in another video. Or if you're interested in how much I make as a registered nurse here in California, I can talk about that too, compared to what I make with illustrations. I kind of just wanted to share with you about the numbers and the success that we've had with our first book. If you are someone that's juggling a career or has a day job and is on the fence about pursuing something that you're passionate about, I encourage you to go for it and do whatever it is that you want to do. And for us, we looked out and had success, something that we just enjoy doing to receive that recognition and sell the amount that we did. It was very encouraging to see. However, if we did fail, we have our careers as a safety net to allow us to take those risks. But being able to take those risks, it only leads to growth and learning. So again, if you are on the fence of taking that leap of faith, I again support you and hope you have success in whatever that is. And thank you for supporting me and watching my videos or my video. Maybe consider subscribing, leaving a like if you're interested in following me in my journey in becoming an illustrator. Okay, peace out. Time to go to bed.